a lot of this is behavioral based. And so I'm also a neurolinguistic practitioner. So I study brain patterns, neural pathways, people's habits. And so a lot of time, that's the thing we have to break through is saying, look, you've been doing this thing for months, years, whatever, your whole life. We have to just take a slight turn, like a Titanic turn, like we're probably going to sideswipe the iceberg, but we're only going to hit it on the outside, right? But the idea is that we start to change that behavioral pattern in your brain so that you can make real adjustments that then come back out as new behavior and hopefully start to redirecting you into another place.
Yeah. And I'm familiar with the neuro-linguistic programming.
Right.
I've been studying a different kind of NLP, actually.
Okay.
Natural language processing.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that too.
Which is computers and AI,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
I just think it's funny how they're both called NLP and they both deal with languages, like coincidence,
It's, yeah. And I don't think there is a coincidence there. I think because especially if you look at the evolution of language and behavior as people, and then now the translation of that into
a
AI,
reflection of an AI.
right.
It's like reflecting on how we are.
That's right. And who's developing all that, right? Humans. So
I was going to say his name is Ilya, and no, just kidding.
right. Well, yeah, no, but but it's actually people that are developing it.
Yeah.
So, the one thing we'll never get away from in technology is the fact that people are involved. So there's always going to be that margin of error, right? Programmatically, I have a 28-year background in IT. That's where I came from in my corporate job as a quality assurance tester, software tester.
Nice.
And
okay. Yeah.
so,
I'm really getting into software this year, so
very cool. Yeah, and so I've spent a lot of my life breaking down ones and zeros, and it is very behaviorally based. So I always tell people it's interesting when you think about finding a defect in code. I always say, well, what's the origin of the defect? What's the source of the defect? And they'll say, well, it's programmed wrong. And I'm like, no, the origin of the defect is the person who programmed it, right? If we didn't have humans coding, right? And I think that that's where things are evolving to with things like AI. Eventually, we'll have enough behavioral data that we can process into a system where the system will start to rewrite the system.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that's really amazing stuff. So
it really is. Yeah, that same GPT-3
right.
is the NLP I was thinking of specifically. It has a different version of it called Codex, where you can. Like they have the image generators where you give it a text prompt and it generates an image, and then they have the neurolinguistic processing.
Right.
I think I just totally mixed
language.
But,
No,
yeah,
I got you. We'll just
natural language processing.
We'll say your NLP and my NLP.
Yes, exactly. It's I totally forgot where I was going with that.
Codex.
Yeah. Codex. Oh yeah. So it's basically it'll do what my NLP does. It's not mine, but the one I'm referring to.
Yep. I'm with you.
It
we make no claims or copyrights here.
Exactly. And it basically just does what the image generators ones do, which are more in the light right now. Like they're kind of more trendy right now. More people know about them, I think. They're more in the atmosphere right now, I think. But there's the natural language processing where it will, basically a text prompt and it can spit back things, kind of.
Absolutely.
It does it in a really efficient way. It's wild. You can have it do some. I was actually I was playing with it to see how far I could push it. And I was getting into psychological grounds with it,
Yeah, it's always scary. I have an AI tool that I use for some of the copywriting stuff that I do, and it's pretty scary. You can give it. I think the minimum in this particular program is like 5 inputs. You can give it 5 inputs of 5 words minimum, and it will generate copy, like paragraphs of copy, almost a book of copy.
Oh yeah.
And that's pretty frightening. It's cool. But it's frightening.
And I've used some of those ones too, which those are NLPs as well.
Yep.
Some of those ones are more trained to do certain things like in marketing.
That's right.
And there's ways if you actually get more advanced in it where it's like you're not just giving it like a sentence, you actually understand how to control it a little bit better. And I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying
right.
Once someone does actually learns to get past like the
surface level.
The surface level of it, you can actually start controlling you can actually start using it as like a programming tool,
right.
or like a writing. Like once you understand the prompts, you can combine prompts and then build on those prompts.
Right, you get these bigger chunks of content.
And I've seen some of the ones with Jasper AI. I was playing around with it, and it has this story, and what it does, it's almost like a Mad Libs thing.
Fill in the blanks as you go.
Yeah, as you go down, and it starts filling it out, and like by the time you're done, you have this complex business plan or whatever. It's
Right.
like it's like a story.
Yeah, people are using them to write books now and stuff too. It's kind of funny because I wrote a book a couple years ago, and it was how to write effective email copy. Right,
Okay.
because back then, even just a couple years ago, people were still using email a lot for business, and so I wrote that book, and then all of a sudden, this onset of AI came out. I'm like, well, I guess copywriting's kind of a different field now.
Well, I mean, if you think about it too, there's still creativity. I think the best part about these things is that that you can use them as brainstorming tools.
Yes.
And I think as the evolution of technology goes, when we get these newer tools, it doesn't destroy an art. It adds it to
Right.
an evolution of the art.
Yeah, it enhances it.
It can. I mean, that's a strong word, but for some people it doesn't enhance it, but it can. It can enhance
Absolutely.
it, and it allows us to do things at a different level and think on a higher level, I think, and there's that aspect of it. And I know there's the purists who are really against all this stuff, and there were purists that were against Photoshop. But if you think about it, people were afraid that the camera was going to put all artists out of business.
Right, but I think that's one of the big problems that people are dealing with, right? Nobody likes Photoshop, but everybody wants a really good picture of their kid at school, right? And so, well, if you've ever had a kid and done class pictures, no kid sits still, smiles right, combs their hair. How cool is it that you could go into a piece of software like Photoshop and you could doctor that up and go, now I have, it's not real technically, but you have this great picture of your kid. Right?
For sure, yeah.
And so nobody likes the process. Everybody wants to be upset about that, but everyone wants that outcome. And more now in business, people want that instant gratification. They don't want to wait a month for something. They want it now. They want it before now. They want it before they walked in the door to take the picture.
Yeah.
And so in business, that's an area that I experience a lot. So like I said, I focus on strategic planning, marketing, and technology with my clients. Those are the three painful areas that most businesses struggle with. And so with my background in technology, my background as an entrepreneur running businesses, technology is one of the most common ways that I start an engagement with a client. I do like a 4-hour consultation with people as kind of an entry point. And they're like, hey, I don't know how to do SEO, or hey, I don't know how to do social media. Like it still is bewildering to people how to use social media to market their business. So I can sit down with a person and take them through the paces for their business and to come up with a unique strategy for them to go. But technology it's not going anywhere. So
yeah, it's going places, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's going everywhere.
Yeah.